Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, an inspirational podcast about the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talk with Liquidshano. I'm here right now to be able to sit back with you guys and just kind of chill out and hang out and learn more stuff from each other and build off of all the things that we've been building off of. I've had a lot more people actually reaching out to find out information about the podcast, to find out how they can get to the podcast and everything else. So this is kind of like an introduction one, but I also want to get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast itself. So the introduction part of it is all about making sure that we are supporting each other and doing everything that we can. So if you get a chance to be able to share this podcast to any of the platforms that you're on, any of the places that you go to listen to podcasts, or you just want to tell your friends about it, hopefully I'm providing some content that's positive, that's uplifting, that is encouraging, and those kind of things for everybody to be able to be a part of and understand as we navigate this crazy world and this crazy thing that we call life. So if you do get a chance, that'd be great. The other way you can support the podcast if you want to, if you are enjoying the content from the podcast, is to make sure that you're going in and you are becoming a patron of the show. So a patron of the show is you donate a little bit of money each month into the show to be able to do things like whether it's microphone upgrades, whether it's sound equipment, whatever it is, or different software that we use or recording software or whatever it is. We use those funds to be able to help to afford and be able to alleviate some of the costs that it does come in with having a good sounding recording studio or anything like that, because I'm not in a big professional recording studio. I'm just in my office with a microphone, and I've got this little contraption that I wish you guys could see. It's a soundboard to the back of it, and it's got a pair of sweatpants that blocks the bottom of it to make sure that there's not too much echo in the sound itself. So I'm trying to be able to wing it, to be able to make sure that I can bring good content for you guys and make sure that we're going to continue to move forward and be positive influences. So for all the new folks that are here, I'm Shane Lakita. I am a podcaster. I am a person that really does play in the space of social media and trying to be able to invest in others, to encourage others, and be able to have everybody that I know of be just in the space that they can be in, that they can achieve the things that they're trying to be able to achieve and continue to move forward, all the while being a positive realist, right? Being somebody that knows that life just stinks sometimes. It really does. It deals you some cards. It deals you all kinds of different things that might happen or anything like that. And the difficult part of it is that we get to, live in a space where even though it's difficult, we can overcome things and we can do things the way that we're supposed to do it and continue to fight the good fight, because we're all worth that fight that we're trying to be able to do. So at the end of the day, outside of all the negative things you might hear or all the negative things that might be going on in the world, this is a safe haven, hopefully, that you can be able to come to and be able to just listen to me talk about whether it's my journey and being a positive realist that's there, or investing. And I've got actually 4 interviews lined up over the next, I'd say probably month and a half, that some pretty inspiring people that I'm going to bring on board with the podcast. So look forward to those too. So if you're new here, welcome aboard. There's a lot of episodes to choose from, but the most content, or the most current content that I'm putting out there, is the most relevant to the ones that I'm living in right now. So there's all kinds of different ones you can go back to, whether they're holidays or whatever else, but enjoy the whole gamut of everything. Enjoy everything you're seeing or hearing or anything like that, because your support is necessary for me to be able to continue to move things forward and do the things that I need to do as I play in this space. Okay? So those are the ways you can help to support it. Those are the ways you can help promote it and anything like that. I am also on all the social medias. I'm on liquid.shano on Instagram. I'm on liquid.shano on the new Threads app. I'm in Liquidshano 1973, or even liquid.shano on Twitter. I'm just everywhere. Liquidshano or Liquidshano 1973. You can find me in all the different platforms to be able to connect with me, to be able to understand the dynamic of where I'm going with this, the comedy side of it, but also the heartwarming and inspirational side of it, and the accountability side of everything that we're trying to be able to do, whether you're trying to lose weight or trying to be able to just be successful in life. Okay. So here we are, guys. Here we are with another episode of the podcast. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me go through that rant and rave just now, but also to give everybody the idea and dynamic of what this whole podcast is all about. Now, if you are a future listener and you want to listen to more, you'll see that my own personal ones that I get to wrap it on a microphone usually don't go any more than like 30 minutes long, which is about what my attention span can last, right? So that's about all I can pay attention to. When I turn on a podcast, outside of maybe Joe Rogan and those guys, I'm literally like, whatever it is that I got to say, I want to get it out there. I want to talk about it. There's some good value. There's some good content to it. There's good everything. And hopefully people can just take one or two takeaways from it to be able to understand that we're all in this rat race together, okay? So lately what I did, we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of the podcast itself, because recently I went onto social media and I talked a lot about how people hide when they are successful, or hide when they're not successful, or when they're in public settings or public speaking or anything like that. We steer clear from it because of our own abilities of being ashamed, or our own abilities of being scared, or petrified of whatever the situation is. But more likely, this podcast is going to be about how people hide when they're failing at whatever it is that they're trying to do. Now, if you're a member of the weight loss community, if you're a member that's trying to lose weight or trying to do different things, you know, and I know that there are ups and downs, right? There's mountains, there's molehills, there's valleys, there's peaks, there's left turns, right turns. There's all these different things as we navigate this journey that we have to go through. And we have to be a part of it if you want to be able to do it. So I personally am also trying to lose weight. And here we are, right? Here we are through the valleys and the peaks, the big losses, the big gains, anything like that. And what happens is we get to a place where if we're failing, we become ashamed. And we don't want to talk about things. Just like if you are going through something in life and you don't want to go to a therapist, or you don't want to go to somebody to talk to somebody, because it's almost like an admission of guilt. It's almost like an admission that you're doing something wrong. You're feeling a certain way. You're not really jiving with whatever that situation is. You're feeling kind of upside down and in this place where, you know, you were successful at one time, but now you fail. And so what happens is we get really quiet. We don't talk about it as much to other people. We don't tell people what our workout regimens are. We don't tell people how successful we are with our eating. We just kind of stay quiet, or we just go off into the sunset and do our thing. And then we continue to gain weight, and we continue to get that whole mental game going or anything like that. And we never really get in front of it to hold ourselves accountable, to turn it around and be able to move things forward. Now, why is that? Why do you think we're in a space where people get so quiet? I recently had a meetup with my buddy, Jonathan Giordano, otherwise known as the Mud Hustler, as many of you know. I went down to Massachusetts. We sat down on the back deck and we were talking. And I said, I hadn't heard from you in a little bit. And he said, yeah, man, I've just been kind of down in the dumps, man. I haven't really been feeling like I've been, you know, where I need to be, whether it's the headspace or whether it's the weight loss or the weight gains and different stuff in life in general and all those things. And I said the same exact thing. I said, listen, have you noticed that I also went quiet for a while? I went dormant. I didn't talk very much. I didn't record many podcasts. I didn't do many things because I was literally in a space where I was embarrassed to be able to talk about anything that has anything to do with positivity, when internally my inside mechanism, the brain on the inside, is thinking every day how much of a failure I was, how much that I was gaining weight, how much I wasn't being a good dad, how much I wasn't successful financially because I lost my job, all these different things that I had going on. And here I was just trying to be able to get through one day at a time, but continue to move forward. I was also in a space where how am I going to be able to present or be able to do things to talk about being a positive influencer or do those kind of things when I'm just a fraud, and I should really just be talking about that stuff. So literally, at the end of the day, a lot of times when I go in here and podcast, I do it for therapy reasons, right? I go on here, I rap about things that are going on, I rap about things that I'm struggling with and all those things. And at the end of the day, I usually use it for a positive feel, to be able to push me forward, for me to be in a space where I feel pretty good about what's going on. Right. And so it usually can pull me out of some dark spaces. It can usually pull me out of different places where I'm not really feeling up to par, or I'm feeling less than, or anything like that. But lately it hasn't been that way. And so I too had been going quiet. As a matter of fact, I got a nice, beautiful, wonderful card from my friend Denise, who lives down in South Carolina along with Michigan, and she sent me a card that said, it's so nice to see some of your videos lately on your No Finish Line Nation and on the website and everything else, that I've been posting a little bit more, little content to be able to come up with coffee talk things to be able to think about, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was really appreciative of that. But then on the same token, I was like, man, you know, she noticed that I had taken a break. She noticed that I stepped back to do it. And so why do we do that? Why do we step back and step out of the light of what we're really trying to work on? We step away from our goals. We don't necessarily go for it because we're embarrassed or we're not focused on the things that are there. 9 times out of 10, how many of us have actually been successful with the things that we're doing right off the bat? Without practice, without going through the motions, without trying to be able to do it. How many of us have been successful right off the bat? It's a very rare thing to be able to say, I'm super successful and I hit it out of the park and here I am and where I go. Now, in weight loss community, kind of like where I'm at right now, I lost a lot of weight, over 100 pounds. I was in tow. I was in commercials. I did all kinds of different stuff. It was pretty amazing, and it was a good little run. But on the same token, COVID hit, job loss hit, kid issues hit, all these other things, and I gained a lot of that back. Now, I didn't gain all of it, but I gained a lot of it back. And so I became embarrassed. I became quiet. I shut down. I didn't want to say anything to anybody. Here I am feeling negative about myself and feeling that I'm a failure in the fact that I'm losing or gaining weight and I'm not losing anymore. And I continue to move forward and continue to gain. And all these people that see me or look to me for different points of inspiration or positivity or accountability, who am I going to be to tell these folks, hey, keep your head on straight, keep on moving things forward. Keep thinking you can do this. You got this. You can do anything you set your mind to when I'm not doing it myself. So how much of a fraud would that be if I'm sitting here trying to tell other individuals or help other individuals towards achieving the goals that they want to achieve and do the things that they want to do when I'm not doing it myself? And I'm not putting one foot in front of the other like I always talk about. And I'm also not dwelling on the past or not looking too far in the future and living in the here and now and doing the things that I have to do to continue to move forward. I know what I have to do, but why aren't I doing it? And now I'm ashamed that I'm not doing it. And now I'm ashamed that other people are looking at me and other people see me and other people see the different dynamics and different things that are going on. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody sees me. I guess that's kind of with the space that I was in. But why do other individuals quiet down? I have so many friends, whether it's weight loss, whether it's financial. I had a buddy of mine that owed me some money. It was like maybe a couple thousand, right? A couple $1,000s. And he owed me some money because I loaned him something, but I was never looking to get that money back. He's a good friend. I was just wanted to take care of him or whatever else. But he went silent on me. He didn't say a word to me for the longest time because he couldn't pay me back. And so he felt ashamed. And he felt just in this really, really bad space. So he wouldn't talk to me. He literally wouldn't even pick up the phone to call me. I would text him. I would call him. No answer, no reply, no nothing. Because he was embarrassed over the fact that he couldn't afford to pay me back the money that I had loaned him to be able to do the things that he wanted to. But I clearly stated, even in the beginning section of it all, I said, listen, I totally get it, man. We're all in a bind sometimes, so don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Listen, you're a good friend of mine. You've been there for me. I want to take care of you. Let's go and do what we got to do. If I've got the funds to do it at the time I did, I was able to move forward and be able to be in that space. But even after saying that, even after telling him that, he still went silent, went quiet, and was embarrassed. He didn't want to say anything. And the only reason I know that he felt this way is because we finally had a sit-down conversation over beers. We sat down and talked about it. And I was like, buddy, I miss you, man. Where you been? He's like, well, I got a lot going on. I said, is it because of the money? And he got real quiet and he steps back and he goes, well, it kind of is because of the money. And I said, don't worry about it. I told you that before. Don't worry about it. Listen, if it makes you feel any better, even if you put like $20 down or anything like that, that's fine. Let's do what we got to do if it makes you feel better, because you don't want to, take from your friends or take from your family and feel like you're less than because you can't do this. Listen, we all have tough times that are out there. Every single one of us go through a lot of stuff all the time. So this was all about finances, right? This is all about finances and where he was at with everything. But I've had many other situations where people go quiet, they go silent, they don't talk, they don't reach out, they don't do anything. How many of you know a man in your life? I'm only going to say men because this is a common occurrence that I see. Women are a little bit more open to talking about, health-related issues or things like that, or maybe they may talk to their doctors, or they're pretty open about those books. Some of them, right? There are some that aren't. I get that. But a large majority of men, if you know men like I do, and I am a man, I think so, right? So at the end of the day, what happens a lot of times? We don't talk to our doctors. We get really quiet about our doctors. Why? Because we're afraid and we're embarrassed. Maybe I got a lump somewhere. Maybe I got some sort of thing going on that I'm embarrassed to talk to somebody about. Maybe I don't want to bring up the broach the topic of colonoscopies and exams and prostates and things like that. Maybe I don't want to talk about stream getting less and things like that or whatever. All these different items that you get as you age and those kind of things. What happens? A man 9 times out of 10 will say, I can rub some dirt on it. I'm going to walk off. I'm not going to say anything to my practitioner because they don't need to know. I don't want to hear about diagnoses and things like that or whatever. I'm just trying to be able to do the things that I have to do, so they get quiet over the simple fact that they don't feel confident in what they're doing. They get quiet because they're embarrassed. They get quiet because they're afraid of what they're going to hear, right? So we have all these different range of emotions that people get quiet for. And at the end of the day, if you're quiet for those reasons, that's your reason. That's your reason you're quiet for whatever it is. Now, whether that's right or wrong, the podcast is all about trying to break through some of these things that we are patterned and we are trained to do in our lives. When we are embarrassed and we are in a space where we don't feel as if we can control things, or we feel like we're out of control, or we feel like we are failing, or we feel like we are not confident in the things that we're trying to be able to bring to the table, or anything like that, we get quiet. We don't talk about it. We don't have conversations. We don't talk to our friends and our family and whatever else. And a lot of times when we are successful, what happens a lot of times when you're in a successful space? You try to stay humble, but you more often than not, you'll talk about your situation, right? Because you're feeling good about yourself. You got some confidence about yourself. You're feeling good about the situation. You lost some weight. You're feeling those self-affirmations that you're trying to do. Maybe you got a new promotion at work. Maybe you made a little bit of extra cash. Maybe you want to give some back. Whatever it is that's going on, if you're in a good space, 9 times out of 10, you're going to share that with other individuals to be able to know that you're in a good space. Right? Because you're there. You might want to help them. You might want to do all the things that you have to do to be able to make sure that we are in a space where we can take care of anything that we can around us. And if we share things with people, even though we stay humble, it can inspire somebody else. Maybe they want to be able to go and do something. Maybe they want to be successful. Maybe they are feeling like they want to put one foot in front of the other and actually achieve some of the goals and aspirations that they're trying to be able to get to. So we talk a lot, or more than not a lot. I should say we talk more than what we do when we're feeling confident and we're feeling happy or we're feeling good about a situation. We're more apt to share with people the stories that we have or the things that we've been through or whatever else, because we've got something to share with people because we feel good about the situation. So why are we not doing that during times that we're feeling embarrassed with ourselves? Is it just the human psyche? Is it just the fact that we are wired this way as human beings, that when we get embarrassed about things or when we get flustered with things, we just quiet down? How come we don't speak up more in those situations? How come we don't share those with whatever community that we got to share it with, whether it's our family, whether it's our friends, whether it's our internet friends, whether it's a podcast listener, whether it's a friend over email or somebody that I haven't talked to, or childhood friends or whatever else? Why can't we talk to everybody about the situations that are going on, especially when it's not going the way that you want it to? Because you need the support. You need the people to be in your corner for you to be successful and be able to move forward. I think that makes total sense on paper, but it does not make sense when it comes to the human psyche. When we are, as humans, are wired a certain way that I can fend for myself, I can defend myself, I can be good at what I do, I know what I'm doing, I'm confident in myself, all those things. And we tell ourselves all these things outside of whatever, and we can do it on our own. But as you all know, many of the podcasts that I've talked about, people need people. So if somebody goes to the doctor and they don't tell the doctor about a diagnosis, or they don't tell doctors about symptoms or anything like that, or they don't tell them anything about it, they just want to get through their physical, they want to get their thing done, and they want to be out the door, or even they don't even go to the physical because they supposedly feel just fine and just perfectly fine and whatever else. And we're not telling the doctor exactly how we're feeling or where we're at during the negative times, during the times we're not feeling good about ourselves, during the time when we got a couple things that are happening that we're like, oh man, I'm kind of embarrassed by that. But we don't say anything because we're embarrassed by it. And guess what happens? 9 times out of 10, it becomes a bigger issue than what it needs to be. and then cancer kicks in, or some sort of disease kicks in, or whatever else happens. And because it was untreated for so long, because we were embarrassed and we weren't there to talk about it, and we weren't there to be able to say, here's where I'm at with this. This is the honest, true me of where I need to go with this. We can't get the appropriate help needed to be able to move it forward. People need people. We have to talk to each other about the things that matter most. I'm not talking about talking to people about political views or religious views, anything like that. I'm talking about human aspect things. How I'm feeling, where I'm at with everything. If I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling like I've gained weight, or I'm losing weight, or I'm doing these kind of things. I'm worried about certain things, whether it's through parenting or through kids or anything like that. And we need to lean on each other to understand that we need each other at these types of times. I need my friends when I need to talk to somebody outside of my wife or my therapist. I need people in my life to be able to just use as a sounding board when I know something isn't right. Something doesn't feel right, so say it. If you feel it, say it, right? But we don't. We don't as human beings because we're in this space where the ego kicks in and we don't say the things that we have to say. Here's another example for you. I know many couples, so I've been married now. This will be, 21 years married this July, the end of this month. 21 years married, 24 years together, I think, is the total. And here we are in a relationship with each other after 21 years. Still two totally different people. We have two different ways to communicate, all those things. We have all this different stuff. And when you're together for 21 years, you become comfortable. And you become accustomed to the fact that you have somebody that's there for you that might cook dinner or might clean the house or take care of different things. Maybe they do the bills. Maybe they take care of all these other things. And you're just in this motion and you're in whatever. And what happens is if you don't stoke the fire of letting this person or this individual know how much you love them and care about them, guess what happens? The relationship goes stale. It can fall apart a little bit. They're not getting reciprocated for the actions that they're doing. Maybe they're always cleaning and always doing the things in the house and the other person doesn't do anything, or they're always affectionate and the other person doesn't show that affection back anymore. Whatever it is, if you're not talking about it, one, if there's an issue, you got to get in front of it. You got to have a conversation. You got to talk about it. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy. The conversation can be all over the place, and you can really have a lot of rich dialogue, but it can be heated as well, right? To be able to have that conversation to move forward with, this is what I need in our relationship, and this is where I'm at with my relationship. The other part of that is, if you don't tell your spouse that you love them, and you do love them, that's also going to fall stagnant, and it's going to fall right off the side of the boat. Next thing you know, you're floating in a boat all by yourself because you didn't tell your spouse or the person that you're with, you love them enough. And so now they don't feel loved. They don't feel that reciprocation. Then they go off other places and they try to find that love elsewhere, whether it's through online or it's through all these different communities and different relationships and all this other stuff. Maybe they got a little attention from somebody or whatever it is. And so then they start to stray and those kind of things. And that's why we have such a high divorce rate, is because we're not necessarily communicating the proper things that we should be communicating. Why? Because we got quiet. We get quiet from comfort. We get quiet from being scared to have the conversation. We get quiet because we don't want to be confrontational. We get quiet because we don't want the other person to think differently about us. We get quiet because we don't want the neighbors to understand that they're having issues. We get quiet because we're embarrassed, like I said in the beginning. We get quiet because we don't want other individuals to understand or even remotely understand of exactly what we're going through, because it would be considered a failure, right? If you're in a neighborhood with a bunch of people that all have different houses and they're all successful marriages, they got multiple kids, they got great jobs, and here you are in a place where you're having a lot of issues, but you put on the game face, you post on social media the nice photos of the family and the hugs and the kisses and all that stuff or whatever, vacations, successes and all that stuff. But the last time you told your spouse you love them was 6 months ago. And the intimacy just really hasn't really been where it needs to be. And you're literally at the end of your rope, where you're feeling kind of lonely, you're feeling kind of out of place, you're feeling like all those kind of things. And both parties are feeling the same way, but nobody's talking. But nobody's saying a word because at the end of the day, we don't want to, one, hurt each other's feelings. We don't want to cause an argument. And we don't want to get into this heated banter back and forth. So you could see the different avenues where silence can be poor. And silence can hurt anything that's going on. It can hurt your relationship. It can hurt your goals. It can hurt your aspirations. It can hurt all these things just because you are quiet and you don't want to say anything to anybody. So at the end of the day, the only advice that I can give you is speak up. Have the conversations. Talk about the conversations. Do the things that are necessary for you to do to be successful and keep on moving forward. Your success is 100% dependent on the fact of if you're talking about things, if you're setting goals for things, and you're doing different things to be able to be there. Listen, speak up. Talk about it. Have the conversations. Do the things that are necessary to invest in them, but also investing in you. If you're having the conversations, at least you're talking about it. At least you're trying to be able to get to a solution. At least you won't just automatically end in divorce. You're trying to be able to move forward. At least you won't trail out of crazy whatever it is that you're there and you're trying to be able to lose weight, and next thing you know you're gaining and you're gaining and you're gaining and you're not talking about it, you're not having conversations about it, and the next thing you know you're 60 pounds up after you lost 30 and you're doubled over the weight that you were at before. Or if you're at a job and you're trying to be able to get a promotion or do different things at your job, nobody's going to know you want the promotion unless you tell them you want the promotion, right? So at the end of the day, if you're not talking to your bosses or talking to people about how you can be promoted or do the things that you have to do, at the end of the day, this is the only way you're going to be able to be successful in that. Speak up. Have the conversations that you're supposed to have. Do the things that you need to do to be able to make sure that others know that this is how you're feeling, this is where you're at with everything, and have the conversations. Do what you have to do to make sure you're in a better headspace to be able to attack the goals that you're trying to be able to go after, to do the things that you have to do to also feel like you can be successful. People need people. And at the end of the day, if we're people that are digging in and doing the things that we have to do with each other, for each other, and by right next to each other, at the end of the day, how can we not be successful when we have people around us rooting us on, lifting us up, encouraging us, giving good advice, and also as a part of that accountability buddy, right? Somebody that's right beside you to understand this is what you're going through, this is how you're feeling, this is where you're at, along with all the other things you can do with going to get therapy, marriage counseling, weight loss thing, going to some nutritionists, whatever else that you got to go to continue to move forward in that space. But people need people, and you need people in your corner to be able to understand that this person is my go-to. This person is my sounding board. This person is the person that I need in my life whenever I have issues or struggles or anything like that, okay? So let's focus on that as we move forward. Stop getting quiet. I am guilty as charged every single time that I gain weight, or when I lost my job, or when I got issues going on with parenting or anything like that. I get quiet because I'm embarrassed. Well, stop doing it, because I need you and you need me. And we need each other as friends, as family, as individuals to be able to lift each other up and do the things that are necessary for us to be successful. So much love to you all, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please do us a favor and leave feedback and a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you use.